No!
A big thank you to everyone for all the views, likes, and subs from the last video. I honestly didn't expect it to do so well, but it did. Like I previously mentioned, I make these videos for fun and you seem to enjoy them, so we both profit. That being said, I think it's safe to say that you'll definitely be seeing more Elden Ring and Soulsborne content from me soon, but for now, I got this video which I've been putting off for a while that I'm finally getting out there. Hope you enjoy it, and if you don't, that's okay. Thank you once again, and now on to the video. Hey everyone, a while back I said I wanted to start a series called Toxicity in the blank community where I'd essentially be addressing toxic traits or opinions of people from a particular community. This series is definitely gonna piss a lot of people off and the keyboard warriors are gonna come after me like I'm Radon. For now, I'm going to stick with gaming, but once I get a hang of this thing I'm definitely gonna dive into other areas of interest. And what better way to start off this series than with arguably one of the most toxic gaming communities out there, the FPS community. This is a community that I was once very immersed in, so I'd like to think that what I have to say won't come off like I'm some ignorant outsider looking in. Doesn't matter because the keyboard warriors are gonna have a field day with this one. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into it. Like many others, I grew up playing Call of Duty when people wanted to play Call of Duty rather than clown on them. COD lobbies back in the day were some of the funniest and simultaneously most toxic environments in the history of online gaming.
Fuck you! What? I don't have to leave you fucking—
Fully grown adults recovering from the 2008 financial crisis, and adolescents experiencing the internet for the first time throwing unfiltered and unmoderated playground insults at each other before inevitably challenging each other to a 1v1 on Rust, trickshot for last kill. But that's all it was. Playground insults and ultimately meaningless 1v1s. Did people's feelings get hurt? Of course! Getting insulted and even worse, losing 1v1s felt terrible. However, it was also an opportunity to learn some very creative insults, which at times turned heated arguments into a competition of who can make the funniest insult. Additionally, because there were no stats in private matches, nobody knew how many 1v1s you've won or lost unless you actually went out of your way to manually keep score as well as publicly broadcast that score. Also, the reaction to trick shots were hilarious.
Oh my god! Are they not recording? Are you recording, trick shot? Oh my god!
I'm not by any means condoning this kind of behavior, by the way. It was still terrible for those who were constantly on the receiving end of those insults, and believe me, it only gets worse from here. I've written this video multiple times, and every single time I end up over-explaining the effect that esports has had on every category of games that have an esports scene. This obviously includes shooters. At this rate, I should make a video talking about how esports ruined gaming, and then subsequently make a video talking about how esports saved gaming, because honestly, it's more like a double-edged sword. But I digress, let's get back to the main topic of the video, which is the FPS community. With players obsessing over stats more and ranked play becoming more popular, toxicity in shooters has gone from messed up playground insults to an environment where you're criticized for any little mistake you make. Not to mention the constant backseating that happens whenever you're just trying to play. Players nowadays expect you to play like a robot with perfect aim, positioning, and game sense even in casual game modes. Then, when you actually do get good, they accuse you of cheating or tell you to go touch grass. Now that's not to say there aren't any cheaters out there, because believe me when I say that I stopped playing Rainbow Six Siege after running into cheaters in casual games. I think the worst part is that there's a large amount of closet cheaters out there, basically people who don't make it obvious they're cheating, and this makes it hard to tell who's legitimately good and who isn't. Which absolutely sucks, because like I mentioned earlier, you can genuinely be good and people will accuse you of cheating because they have to play with the constant fear of running into cheaters. I genuinely don't understand the mindset of cheaters, and more specifically why they go out of their way to ruin other people's playing experience. Because of them, a player can't simply be good at a game anymore without facing some kind of scrutiny. And again, I'm going to put the blame on esports because it's come to a point where people will cheat to get to high ranks just for the sake of saying they're in a high rank. Now, one could start pointing fingers at the developers for not having a good anti-cheat, but the truth is that people are finding new ways to hack a game every day without being caught by the anti-cheat software. The sad reality is that hackers will continue to run rampant in online shooters regardless of whether you're on PC or console. And speaking of PC and console, with crossplay being more normalized among multiplayer games, comes the whole PC versus console debate, more specifically mouse and keyboard versus controller. See, back before crossplay was a thing, there was always this debate of whether it was better to use a mouse and keyboard or a controller for shooters. Now that crossplay is a thing, FPS players have started to complain about things such as aim assist on controllers, and before you keyboard warriors start typing, yes, I have seen clips of aim assist being incredibly overpowered. And to that I say that if you use a mouse and keyboard, you have more customization options available to you, along with the fact that you're using your entire hand and arm to aim. Meanwhile, controller players only got their thumbs, hence why aim assist is a thing for them. I understand that you customizing your mouse settings and sensitivity isn't going to change the fact that aim assist is incredibly strong in certain games, but perhaps you should also ask yourself if aim assist is the only reason why you died. The way I see it is that aim assist is a tool, albeit sometimes a very strong one, that helps controller players who in my opinion are at a severe disadvantage when playing due to the nature of the game where good aim and a fast reaction time are mandatory. But it seems like FPS players will find anything to complain about in their games, despite the majority of them only playing those games for recreational purposes. Not only that, but you also have people whose jobs are to play the games for 12 hours a day telling people that saying it's just a game is a bad thing. Little do they know, it literally is just a game. The majority of players that play the game are not being paid to do so, and they end up gravitating towards ranked play because the quality of life in ranked game modes is usually better due to the emphasis of playing against players of equal skill, and a lot of the cheesy weapons and items being banned in ranked. And due to the popularity of esports, the game devs tend to emphasize balancing their game around ranked play. In their defense, it's hard to balance games for the casual community without some kind of power creep occurring eventually. Listen, I don't mean to sound like I'm hating on esports because I myself was an esports player back in college, albeit a mediocre one at best. However, I'm not a big fan of how esports is being pushed onto every player now, whether it's through ranked play, in-game microtransactions, or balance patches getting rid of some of the most fun things in a game. Ultimately, players are forced to play a certain way because that's how the pros play, and if they choose to play otherwise, they're either bad for not using the most overpowered things in the game that the pros use, or bad for using the most overpowered things in the game that are too good for ranked play. Overall, this type of toxicity in shooters ruins the player experience, and the FPS community essentially gatekeep their own games with this kind of behavior. Now I know the keyboard warriors have been cooking me in the comments for the past few minutes that I've been talking. I bet they're saying things along the lines of "get good" or something along the lines of "stop complaining about esports," followed by them listing all of the good things esports has done for games. If you actually paid attention to anything I was saying, you'd know that at the beginning I said esports is a double-edged sword for any game that has an esports scene. In this video, I just so happen to discuss the negative impacts that esports has had in FPS games. That's not to say there hasn't been positive impacts, because that's just not true. As a matter of fact, although I said balance patches can often remove some fun things from a game, they're often done in order to increase the game's longevity. Additionally, I think that LAN events have done wonders for all kinds of shooters and are overall a great way to get a bunch of people with a common interest together. So no, I'm not an esports hater. As for getting good, that's literally why I'm playing Dark Souls now. See, that's a game where you need to get good. However, unlike FPS games, there's actually a reward for getting good. You can actually play the game. In my opinion, first-person shooters have become more of a chore to play rather than a fun hobby. Trash talk has evolved from funny, albeit highly offensive banter to insults based on every aspect inside and outside of the game. On top of that, you need to constantly worry about cheaters and listen to people complain about input devices or just backseat you. Needless to say, I personally can't seem to enjoy first-person shooters anymore, hence why I don't play them as often as I used to. The only exception I'll make is playing Halo co-op with friends, which is what you've been watching throughout the video if you were actually watching and not just listening to me ramble on. If you still enjoy first-person shooters, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. As a matter of fact, I have a lot of respect for you because you're able to tolerate the god-awful community of whatever shooter you're playing. But that's going to be it for my video on the toxicity in the FPS community. I cannot wait to read what the comment warriors have been cooking up in the comments. Thank you so much for listening. Please feel free to share your experience with FPS games below in the comments. I will see you in the next one.